Hello everyone, welcome to MzansiOz Diary. My name is Connie. If you're new here, you're very much welcome. So I'm continuing with the housing crisis in Australia. So the main thing is also that we need to look at as well in this housing problem that we're experiencing here in Australia. It is homelessness. Now, homelessness in Australia has risen. In fact, in 2023 census data, the data said about 122,000 Australians in any given night were experiencing some kind of homelessness. So that was actually 5% increase from the last census data when this data was taken. So that's a massive increase in homelessness in Australia. So this number actually underestimates the true extent, with 1,000 more in hidden homelessness, things like couch surfing, living in cars, or relying on short-term accommodation, unsafe accommodation. So the government Help to Buy scheme targeted at individual earning at least over 90,000 Australian dollars for a single, 120,000 for couples, only benefit middle income earners. In these middle income earners are people in the professions such as being nurses, teachers, and so on. These are very important workers, but they are not the one mostly at risk of homelessness. They're not. Meanwhile, we know that most vulnerable are left behind. People, over 40% of those experiencing homelessness are young people who are under 25 years old. Those are the people that would experience homelessness. And also the data that we know of, it is 1 in 3 people seeking homelessness services are usually people who are escaping domestic violences. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, homelessness is 10 times more likely than non-Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So the census data doesn't show other groups like Black Africans or other. They just have distinction between Australians and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander data. They don't have other subgroup in that. That is the data we have. That's official data from the statistics. All right, so only 4% rental properties are affordable for a single person on job seeker, and that has actually deteriorated now. I will show you some of the videos around what's available in my home state of South Australia in terms of a person who would be a job seeker, because they normally don't earn anything more than 1,000 a fortnight. So you would see from that is actually really, there's no available stock now. This data is an old data that I'm pointing out, but as we speak, there isn't any affordable properties for somebody who's on job seeker. Okay, so just have a look and see how expensive rental market is in Australia. So which is mostly where a lot of migrants who are coming to Australia. This is South Australia. This is my state, and let's have a look. See, this is a 2-bedroom, as you can see, this one, $600 per week. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. That's a lot of money. $800 per week for 3 bedrooms, 2 bathroom. It's a townhouse. It's mostly if you have family, like if you have a child, got kids, it's your husband. This is a townhouse actually. Look at that. $800 per week. Okay, this one is just for someone who's single, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Okay, so it's, just look at it. See how it looks. Look at that. Way expensive, people. Way expensive. That one there. Look at that one. 1 bathroom. Look at that. 1 bathroom. It's a unit. So even it, yeah, even if the people are trying to downsize, those who've got an equity in their property, they want to sell it and to move on to a small unit, it's just nothing. It's so expensive. See that? Look at that one. This it's off-street parking. There's not even a parking. You just park outside. Here with limited parking. $7.50 per week. Look at that one. $6.20 per week. Most people who are on any form of support payment, there would be around, their salary would be around 800 or 8 something. It won't be more than that. So you can see why homelessness in Australia is rising because of this. This is huge. This is a problem. Huge problem. Look at that. $700 per week for 1 bedroom. Wow. And I told you the median income for people, healthcare workers, mostly it range around, I mean, if you are a migrant, you will actually be lower than that because of the cap in an amount you're allowed to earn. So if you're depending, all the visa anyway, new migrants, they don't earn to as, higher as most Australians. So you're likely to be around very low income. That's why I'm seeing a lot of new migrants actually wanting to leave when those that have come out, reach out to us, they're having a lot of problems to survive in Australia. Look at that. This one is 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 900. So be most families with kids. If people who are on any support payment or low income, they wouldn't be able to even be able to rent. If you're on low income, you would be grossly $1,400 a fortnight. So you're paying about $900 of that for your rent. What are you left with after that? If you are a family, because you need a bigger place if you're a family. So look at that. Shocking. Anyway, all right, I'll just move on to the next one. In Australia, there's none. So there is none. Unless, you get, non-profit organization who help people with homelessness, that they wouldn't otherwise, they'll pay them, people would pay less than the market value.
A Queensland single mother has shared her heartbreaking battle with being forced onto the streets, with cost of living set to shape the federal election. 10 News First has obtained exclusive polling showing voters in some of the country's marginal seats don't believe the major parties are committed to solving the housing crisis.
Living in a hotel.
So you've got to use your shower to get hot water into your sink.
Far from a 5-star experience.
It's not an environment for families. There's a lot of drugs, violence.
And yet, single mother Rachel is extremely grateful to have a roof over her head funded by charity while she looks for an affordable rental to raise her daughter. It's been a year since her landlord decided to sell their last home.
I've been applying and applying and applying, and you just keep on getting rejected because it's not just, you know, a handful of people going for a home no more. It's like a whole community going for that one home.
As we head towards a federal election,
the housing crisis is really biting and that people are really feeling it as an issue.
Everybody's Home commissioned a survey of 2,500 people in 4 electorates across the country, 3 marginal. Housing came out as the biggest cost of living pressure, overwhelmingly the case for renters, though the top issue among mortgage holders was groceries, energy for those who own their home outright. But other results were consistent among the groups. 44% of respondents don't think Labor or the Coalition are committed to solving the housing crisis, and more people support funding for affordable homes over investor tax breaks.
If these results are replicated across the country, it really spells trouble for both major parties. It says that what they're doing isn't cutting through.
Both major parties are teasing significant new policy announcements ahead of the federal election. We're going to hear a lot about social and affordable housing from Labor. The Coalition will pitch to first home buyers.
We have a $32 billion Homes for Australians plan, which is now in place. It's a comprehensive plan to boost supply.
People can't buy a house, they can't afford their homes.
The Greens have consistently pushed for rent freezes and cuts to negative gearing. Chloe Burris for 10 News First.
Homelessness isn't just a housing issue. It is actually a public health crisis and a driver of social instability. So people experiencing homelessness have life expectancy of up to 30 years, shorter than those who are in the general population. So, and also the rate of mental health, substance use, chronic health disease like diabetes, heart disease, they are actually a little bit higher, significantly higher for people who are homeless as well. It is a significant problem. Okay, let's agree, it is a significant problem. So rates of mental health illness, substance use, diabetes and heart disease, they are significantly higher among those people who are without stable housing. The hospitalization rates is about 5 times higher for homeless individuals. Often hospitalization is due to preventable condition. More than half of the people leaving prison, they become homeless and they face housing insecurity within months of being released from prison, creating that revolving door between homelessness and incarceration. Yeah, this impact of housing, it's an example of social determinants of health and criminality. You're starting to see how housing has a significant impact to the health and well-being of the population. It also has a significant impact on criminality. So the social determinants of health and the determinants of criminality. It is also linked to the housing. So we cannot talk just about housing, crime prevention, or community safety without addressing housing. The evidence is clear. People without housing are more likely to get sick, more likely to die younger, more likely to become entangled in the criminal justice system. What we need is not a hand up for already employed middle income earners. We need structural changes, people. Large scale investment, like I said, in public and community housing. And also wrap around support around people with complex needs, including those with mental health, those who need disability services that are outside the scope of the NDIS. So we need a stronger tenancy laws and rental price control. What is very important is the rental price control. The fact that when you're just looking at how much houses available stock for people on job keeper, people who would be on disability pension because they're unwell, there isn't much for those people there. So in this coming video, I will play a clip of a man who rented a property that it's not even a property, you would call it a place that a human being could live in it. But when you look at this coming story, you will see that link between health and housing, how these two play a part, and then how vulnerable people like him are into this lack of social housing for people who need support the most.
How can you let people live like this? Amy is a landlord accused of taking advantage of vulnerable tenants. 7 people crammed into a filthy one-bedroom home with makeshift walls. It's a hazard waiting to happen as she rakes in the rent.
1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 7 tenants.
That's a garage.
That's a garage.
And how many people are living in that garage?
3 people live in there. 2 in one side and 1 in the other side.
Are you the worst landlord in Australia, Amy?
It may appear white picket fence perfect, but this humble abode is full of secrets. A phony front door, dummy walls, and tenants that aren't to be seen or heard.
What happens if there's a fire here, Amy?
No fire.
No fire? Well, it would be a death trap.
She's brought in the system big time. Yeah, this is how we come in, yep.
It's a bit of a mess here, isn't it, Daniel?
It is a mess because she won't get a council clean-up. That's the laundry where you've got to pay to use.
What about in the main?
Daniel's on the wait list for a double hip replacement and can't work. It's the reason he's called this slum house home for 8 years.
And what is this burnt-out mess here?
That's someone threw a cigarette there and I came home and it was on fire. But there's no taps to put it out because she took all the taps.
Do you feel safe living here?
No, not really.
Let's have a look inside your apartment.
The former brickie pays $250 per week to live here.
I had to build these steps because there was timber ones. And the timber ones, when I was coming home from my shop, and I went straight through them.
If his housemates are paying the same, Daniel's landlord is raking in $1,750 every week for this non-compliant boarding house in Sydney's southwest.
This is the kitchen.
And your bathroom.
That's the bathroom area.
A makeshift wall from the window separates the kitchen and bathroom. The toilet is inside the shower, which is next to a single plug-in hot plate.
The husband does all the building work here. He was a taxi driver, as you can see, the taxi up the back. He does all the building repairs, anything. If you touch this microwave, when I plug it in, you get zapped. Sometimes you get zapped off the fridge if you've got wet feet.
Behind this boarded-up separation lives another tenant.
This was the door of the house originally. You can see the outside frame. But she takes all that down when the council comes.
So when council comes, she unboards that door.
Unboards it all. You can walk right through the front house. You can walk straight to the front door and open it if you want, you know.
A recent real estate advertisement for the property shows a quaint 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom house with an estimated rental income of just $355 a week. But our cameras were confronted with an unkept, foul-smelling property littered with junk.
Every single joint in the walls was...
So we need a national housing strategy that's centered around equity, health, and human dignity. Housing isn't just a market issue. It's about health. It's about justice. It's about a basic human right. If we can move from that scale, this problem will likely to be sorted sooner. But as you can see for the next data as well, is that we haven't been building enough houses. That our average houses, the house that Australia built since 2021, we haven't even, we're about, 2/3 of what we used to build in terms of houses. But we've doubled the number of population over the same period. Let's have a look at the housing data in Australia. As you can see, this is year-on-year data about how many houses were built, building activities in Australia. Like I said, if the government really wants to sort housing problem, this is where they should be focusing on. This data was released this year, it's 22nd of 1, 2025. And then we can go down here. It's more interesting because this one is where you can see the problem is. So you can see here, September 2021, see there. June 2021, we were building 55,595 houses. And if you look at there, seasonal adjusted. When seasonal adjusted is really, it's better than month on month. But we can see seasonal adjusted in seasonal terms. In 2021, Australia was building at least 66,485 houses per year. All right, that is 2021. So now you will, I don't even have to show you. You can see the graph is falling, right? You can see the trend. If you start here where you are and go down here, see, we're coming down. See now, 2020 up to September last year, seasonal adjusted, Australia built 43,247 houses, way down than the peak of 2021, which then seasonal adjusted houses that were built were 66,485. See the decline, and while at the same time we had more people into the country. This is where the problem is, people. It's not to do with throwing money and increasing the public debt and putting Australia at risk, and the future of Australia. The problem is right here in front of us. As you can see here, it is to do with the housing. And you can then ask yourself, why did they bring so many people if they knew that they weren't building enough homes for them? 2021, there it is. And it declined gradually, came here, and it started declining. During the peak of COVID times, it declined, it came here, seasonal adjusted 2022, look at that, 41,380. And the problem also that I have with this whole thing with Labor is that they knew that due to COVID restriction, Australia wasn't building a lot of houses for reasons that we know because of public health and other restrictions that were imposed at the time. But then they opened a lot of people to come in at the same time, while the building industry still hasn't recovered. In some cases, I don't think this building industry has recovered. Do you think it has recovered when you're looking at these statistics? It's not, because we were here. 66,000 in 2021, 66,000 houses we're building. Now we're here, we're building. Last year, up seasonal adjusted, 43,000. So 2023, we're around 37,959. That was during the Labor Party. Even here, still a Labor Party. 2023 March, even here, still a Labor data. See there. We were here, 2021. This is where Australia should have been in terms of how many houses Australia built. We should reach that before opening the floodgate of many people that we can't house and creating a social problem of homelessness and an increasing in rental for Australians and immigrants as well. Look at this. This is where we are. We should be here. The data, even with these, politicians were saying, they're going to cut migration to a certain amount, yada yada. But when you look at the people, the permanent migration is not a problem. The problem is actually temporary migrant, because that's where the rental push and also housing is at. And also, If you're not aware of it, people who are studying in Australia, who are from rich families, they can buy houses. Okay? They can buy houses. The law allows them to buy houses.
Can I just clarify the rules around foreign ownership of housing? And I'd just like to reference an article on the web that, it's just on the Daily Mail talking about, I'll just quote it for you. Chinese home buyers have made a strong return to the Australian housing market, driven in part by the weaker dollar and the Chinese New Year holiday period. XXX of this agency, which specialises in selling homes to Chinese buyers, had already seen a 20% increase in inquiries for viewing properties during the Chinese New Year. My understanding of it was that foreigners can only buy new property, not existing property. And question one. And question two is, can the parents of students studying here buy property here?
Senator, in answer to your first question, there's recently been an announcement of a ban on purchase of established dwellings. So until recently, there were certain circumstances under which people could buy established dwellings, but that will change effective 1 April.
Right, okay.
For a ban, and I'm happy to go through the exceptions that there were, but basically...
What were the exceptions, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so either it involves a primary residence in Australia, or the purchase of a property by an employer on behalf of an employee.
Right, okay.
Or where there is substantial redevelopment that adds to the housing stock.
Yeah, okay. So in the case of a foreign student, if they were studying here and they wanted a house to live in, you could have bought a house for the student studying here.
They would have to buy it.
Yeah, they'd have to buy it while they were here and then sell when they left.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know.
What actually data did they have to think that the resource housing will cope, that we will have enough houses for new people? If when they made this decision of migration, broken migration, what evidence did they have that we will build enough houses to accommodate these people? Did we have any free housing at a time? Because you see, there was a huge decline here, and that is explained by during the time of the peak of the COVID there, and all those restrictions that came along with it. And then you see there, when you go up, we went up a bit in 2023, 45, and we dropped again. Remember, then was also when we had a lot more people. And instead of increasing, going up, we went down. We went down here in September. And then we started to peak from September until last year, slightly, at the snail scale, we went to 43,247. That is the seasonal adjusted trend. That's the best data. We're not going to look month on month because there's a lot of variability. But this is where the problem is, okay? Yeah, see? It's already demonstrated there. It is no wonder why everything is strained. The resources are strained. I don't know what you think, whether you feel safe if you walk around where there's a lot of tent cities and it's not okay. We cannot normalize this. When you start normalizing poverty in your community, you become removed from their suffering. We just cannot normalize this as becoming the way of life. Australia was never like this. I'm an immigrant myself, never like this, what I'm seeing right now. It's something new. It's not Australia. So it is something wrong with the system that needs to be fixing. And I don't think giving people who are middle income earner some money, expanding the debt that Australia has, to support them, then neglecting supporting the most vulnerable in our community. It's not a fairness. That's not fair. And we should really look into this policy for what it is actually going to create over a long term for Australia. It's not only data around socialism, it also doesn't encourage people to work harder, to aspire to do things for themselves, because we have made it so difficult. We have rigged the system that is so even impossible for a hardworking person to even wanna be able to be independent enough to buy the house on their own right. That should be a goal. That should be something that we all want to have, is that you go out there, you work, you save money, you buy the property. You cannot do it at this stage with the amount of like the property prices. You couldn't do it on your own. You need, without any form of support from your rich parents, you couldn't do it on your own. It's not a healthy economy. That's not a healthy society. That is a declining society. All right, comment below what do you think about this issue about housing policies that Australia has put forward for middle-income earners, and also what do you think in general what needs to be happening around housing. As I've said in this video, there is actually a link between health, criminality, other ways, the justice system, and homelessness. And we need to look at this issue broadly, not just tackling and look at it as it is, and really address the core issue around this if we want to really move away from housing that is for as an investment, but to the housing that is the basic needs to put a roof over your head. Putting a roof over your head is a basic human dignity. Okay, I don't know, I've got my view about this, but I think we're on the wrong path. As a country, we are on the wrong path. All right, comment below. Please consider subscribing. Until next time, have a lovely day. Bye for now.